So now that you've come back from your individual sessions from week 10, we're going to begin to look at the men's behavior specifically as it relates to their children. The theme of the next 4 sessions of the Caring Dads program is devoted to understanding and challenging patterns of abuse in each man's relationship with his children or the children's mother. In each week, exercises are suggested to introduce a particular topic. Session 11, How Am I Responding to My Children's Needs? Focuses on emotional abuse. Session 12, Relationship with My Children's Mother, focuses on men's perpetration of violence against the children's mother. Session 13 is another opportunity to do problem solving with the men, either individually or in a group setting. In Session 14, Decreased Denial and Minimization takes on the issue of minimization, denial, and blame and frames these as behaviors in terms of guilt and shame. It helps men understand how these behaviors harm their children and others in their lives.
Men in Caring Dads groups tend to be quite focused on their own learning and sometimes find it a bit frustrating when too much time is spent on other men's examples. For this reason, it's often useful to add a short educational exercise at the end of each week. This way, all men can feel as if there was an opportunity for them to learn something during the group. Facilitators may also work at drawing men into the group process by emphasizing the importance of men's feedback to others in the group and making links between examples provided by different men. Going into week 14, it's important to have some understanding of shame and how to process that in group. Shame is the feeling of being exposed and found to be lacking in dignity, self-worth, and esteem. Shame is critically important for understanding the presentation of many individuals who've been abusive. In particular, an individual's inability to tolerate feelings of worthlessness can give rise to many of the defensive, hostile, and angry reactions that are typical of abusive fathers. Shame can also prevent men from taking responsibility for their abusive behavior, because to do so would mean to devalue the entire self. The aim of intervention for shame is for facilitators to help clients move from feeling shame about the self to feeling guilt for particular actions. In other words, the facilitator's job is to support the client's self-blame for their inappropriate abusive behavior, while at the same time countering the client's tendency to generalize regrets about specific behaviors to a condemnation of the entire self. This distinction may be captured by the differences in the statements, "You should be ashamed of yourself," and "Although you behaved in a shameful way at these times, I'm confident that you are not shameful. You are someone who can behave in a different way in the future." By simultaneously holding a view of the client as someone who's worthy of dignity and respect, and who's behaved in a way that is completely wrong and terribly hurtful to others, facilitators can model a non-encompassing view of abusive actions. With this differentiation between guilt and self-worth, clients can move towards taking responsibility for their behavior and developing better relationships with their children.
So, welcome back. I know that we've kind of done a little bit of a check-in. You've all set some individual goals. And I know from that we put off, Frank, your check-in and around how things went last week, and you've agreed that you're going to share that with the group. So I guess what I'd like you to do is tell the group a little bit about what happened last week for you.
Last week I went out after work. I went and had a couple drinks with some coworkers, a couple beers, and just so happened that was the same night that I was my first overnight with Ivy.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. When I went to pick up Ivy, Caitlin almost immediately smelled the beer on my breath. And flat out told me I wasn't having her that night because she thought I was drunk. I wasn't drunk. I mean, I'm usually a whiskey guy, but it was only 2 light beers, and
You screwed up.
I know I did, you know. And the way I reacted was not any better. When I knew I got so angry that I slammed the door on her, started yelling. I don't even know what I called her
Yeah.
from outside the house, and I just stormed off. And we haven't really talked since. I tried calling her, but she has little to say to me at the moment.
And so your reflection, so Frank's reflection that the road just got a little longer. What do other guys think about that? Did the road just get a little longer for him? The road to trust, right? The road to actually, yeah,
It's a step back, yeah.
it's a step back.
But it,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you can't step forward again, but
No, I know. It would, yeah. It's just, yeah.
yeah.
So I see everybody kind of shaking their head. I feel like everybody has saying, okay, I've been there. At least some of you feel like you've been there. Just before we process this, because I think you're absolutely right. When we have a step back, we have to figure out how to step forward, and we don't want to get stuck there. So just before we go there, how does it feel for everybody to be here with him and to hear him having this step back? What do you want to say to him?
Well, there again, dealing with, trying to clean up my own drinking habits,
Yeah.
which has been hard. I get that.
Yeah.
I really get that part of it. I hurt for him. Like, if it had to happen on another night, a couple of beers, say, geez, that was a slip, picked myself up, but it hurts me to hear that, it's got these consequences attached to it.
Yeah.
And if you were his wife, do you think that what she did was reasonable? You understand that?
You're probably lucky she didn't do more. You're lucky she didn't call the CAS on you. Screw that up again too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that one. You know that.
Yeah. No, I know.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit now. Okay, so let's go through how we might sort of problem solve situations like this and try to make sure that they don't happen again. Because sometimes I think what we do is we try to white knuckle it. We just say, it's never going to happen again. I'm never going to drink again. I'm never going to yell at my partner again. But white knuckling it usually doesn't get you far enough. I think we really need to kind of break it down and see how could we prevent this from happening again in the future. So to do that, we're going to use a series of steps called the problem solving for parents steps. And we're going to use them this week and next week and next week and next week. So it starts by thinking about the situation. And here, what did you do in this situation that was parent-centered? What falls at this parent-centered, or really at this case, were abusive behaviors that would fit on that not valuing children wheel? What did you do that falls at that end of the continuum?
I didn't take this whole situation seriously.
Okay. Didn't take it seriously?
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have checked. Do we all agree that this situation, this behavior was a parent-centered end of the continuum?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so he didn't take it seriously. What else? What else did you?
Go. He broke his promise.
Broke his promise. To who?
Well, to both his wife and his child.
Yeah, as
actually.
well as to himself. Right. Right, so you broke a promise. What else?
He put his needs above his kids.
Right.
Needs for fun or a drink or whatever, or to
Right.
go with the buddies.
All right. He's there at the door. What else did he do?
So, yes. So he drank 2 drinks, and maybe he's not drunk, but 2 drinks. If he was driving, maybe with the children, maybe if the police stop you or something, then
Well, and
That
2
would
drinks
not-
for him means something really important, doesn't it? Right? 2 drinks means a broken promise, which is a little bit different, especially on a night where, right? It means
Yeah.
something different, right?
Yeah.
So what else did you do?
I got defensive
Mm-hmm.
when I was being called out
Yep.
by Caitlin, and I got angry,
Uh-huh.
aggressive. I slammed her door,
Slammed your door.
yelled obscenities. Don't even know what I called her from outside of the house.
Called names.
Yeah.
Lost it, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, was Ivy around?
I didn't see her. It
What
was-
do you think? Is Ivy affected by this as well?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
She knew she
So-
knew I was coming.
Yeah, so she misses her visit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when we think about this, and we think about all of these things that we don't want to have happen, remember how we did the thoughts, feelings, and actions triangle? So I want to talk about where this might have started for you. Where in this situation could you have made a different decision that would have ended up that you didn't behave in all these parent-centered and abusive ways? Where did the decision difference have to be?
Like my actions, like
Yeah, like
why
when
did
would
why
you
did I go have
changed?
2 drinks? Why did I even
Why did you go have 2
consider it?
drinks?
Yeah.
It started right there, right?
Yeah, and why did I think 2 beers was nothing compared to what my usual intake back in months ago was
Yeah.
whiskey or something. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one place. Absolutely. Why did I actually have 2 beers? What was the next place that you could have changed things?
In the thinking stage,
Sorry, no, I mean, so now
Oh,
he's
I'm
had
sorry.
2 beers.
yeah.
Now he's
Oh,
had 2
okay.
beers. What else could have stopped this?
Him admitting it right off the bat and saying, you know what, maybe I screwed up. I can't get it tonight, and this is why.
Yeah.
And I own it. I did it.
Yeah.
Um,
So do you see there was actually 2 points there? Either not drinking in the first place,
Yeah.
or if you had drank, saying, okay, you know what, now I can't
Yeah.
do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So which
Absolutely.
one do you want to break down? Which one of those feels more like the one that you want to work on? Not having the 2 drinks, or then, falling off the wagon and calling your partner? What do you think is most realistic for you?
Falling off the wagon and calling my partner.
Okay,
That
that feels more realistic.
Yeah.
So let's work with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's work with that. Now let's put you back in that situation.
Okay.
You had 2 drinks.
Yeah.
Now, so that's your action.
Yeah.
It's 2 drinks. What at the time were you thinking? As you're driving to your partner's house, or as you've had 2 drinks and now you're going to do your visit, what are the thoughts going through your head?
I guess at the time I just didn't even think about it. It was it seemed like it was 2 simple beers, and I felt fine. Didn't feel anything about it, and I didn't make anything. I just wasn't all there.
You weren't
Maybe I
all
was just
there.
denial, and I guess I was just in the denial that I could
So
have 2
you're
drinks.
thinking maybe this is no big deal?
Yeah, maybe and it felt like it was no big deal, and then
And she says now it is a big deal?
yeah, and then I realized it is a big deal. To me it was just like it's 2 drinks. I did this when I had 2 drinks. Great, it used to be 9, 10 drinks.
Yeah. Used to be 9-10.
Yeah.
And then she says, okay, you're not taking Ivy. Now what are you thinking?
At that time, I'm immediately pissed off. I feel
Yes, feeling pissed off.
I'm not in bad shape in any way.
Yeah. I'm fine.
I couldn't see. I couldn't let myself be on her level, understanding. I couldn't be understanding to what she was getting mad at me about. I put up defense.
So she shouldn't be mad?
At that time, yeah, I
that's
felt
what
that
you're
way.
thinking? She
Yeah.
shouldn't be mad? The reason I'm doing this is because I think we have to understand that our actions really come out of our thoughts and our feelings. Remember, we talked about that. So he's feeling sort of pissed off. What else are you feeling?
It mixed in there at that time too was fear, worried.
About?
Are we going to go back to square one where I lose Ivy
Yeah.
and Caitlin completely?
Yeah.
But I'm just so angry that I can't drop my emotions at that time. I can't.
You
Yeah.
just- yeah. So fear, worry. What else might you have felt? Any shame?
I absolutely.
Chair.
Shame. Yeah.
especially after I calmed down.
Especially after you calm down. So I can imagine this instance of you kind of getting there. I'm imagining a little bit of this is going on even in your head on the way there, even though, as you say, you know, you're not just thinking about it,
Right. Well, you know, yeah. Obviously, there's like a little bit of worry.
even
you know,
going there.
And she smells my breath, which she did right away.
She did right away,
Yeah.
yeah. And so then when we have these feelings, shame, fear, worry, anger, pissed off, and we're thinking, you know, this is no big deal, you know, she shouldn't take this seriously, I'm fine, then it's not surprising that our actions look like they did, right? Which was slamming the door, yelling, screaming, abusing her, and exposing Ivy to that same abuse, as well as missing your visit. And
Yeah.
so, you know, that has consequences for your partner, it has consequences for Ivy, as well as it has consequences for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what kind of things, let's see if we can move this around, because as we said, we want this to be different. So, this is going to be tough, but I want you to kind of help him. He's had 2 drinks now. What kinds of thoughts and feelings could he have that would lead to different actions? Now, I'm going to put some feelings in here because I know that he's still going to feel shame, right? And some worry and fear, right? That's not going to be different.
Right.
So how can we get him out of this situation? What kind of thoughts can he have that might get him out? So that he doesn't show up at the door that way.
I screwed up.
I
made a mistake.
I made a mistake. Okay. What else?
What can I do to make this the best it can be for my daughter?
Yeah. How can I make this the best that I can be for my daughter? Right, so this is a different kind of thinking that I hope nobody kind of knows about this, or hopefully she won't find out that, you know, I made a mistake and I've got to figure out a way to deal with it. What do you think takes more strength? Does it take more strength of character to do this? To kind of own up to your mistake and try to deal with it? Or does it take more strength of character to just let it go and hope nobody finds out?
It's harder to do that.
It's way harder to do that, isn't it? Is this a strength when we can do this?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a strength. Do you need some more thoughts to help you get to this strong position? How else? What other thoughts might bring him to this strong position? I think a hopeful thought's important.
Yeah.
Like, I can do this. You know, I can. What about thoughts about how his partner's going to react? Is she still going to be angry?
Yes.
Yeah. So what thoughts do you have to prepare yourself for the fact that she's still going to be angry?
Well, you know, hopefully she sees that I've admitted my mistake
Yeah.
and knows that I am working to change this, and obviously it's not as easy as I thought, but at least maybe she'll be built, you know, once she calms down, is ready to talk to me, she'll see, you know, she would see that I admitted my mistake. I want to work on it still.
Well, you know what? I love that in so many reasons. First of all, you also said, you know, when she calms down, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that it might take her a little bit of time
Yeah.
to calm down and be able to come back to that. So I think those are all, and, you know, I hear your commitment to stay on this course, right? That even though I've had a setback, I'm going to stay here. So that's a lovely commitment. If you start having those thoughts, are there any other feelings that might come on here? We've been talking about hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some hope that things might be different.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
That's what I'm feeling a lot lately as well.
And what would your actions be then? What would you do? What could you have done?
Not have had those 2 drinks.
Not have had those 2 drinks,
Yeah.
but you've done it now.
Yes,
You had the 2
yeah,
drinks. What
but-
could you have done?
No, just commit myself to staying off, not having another one.
Not having
Yeah,
another one
Avoid it.
and owning up to it and saying,
Yeah.
right? Right. Okay. So last bit, and that is, what would have been the impact on Ivy had you been able to grab your thoughts right at that point, and instead going to this defensive shame, worry place, and instead go to a place of strength, which is, I'm actually going to admit my mistake, and I'm going to do whatever I can to problem solve in this situation, which meant that you were going to give up your visit that night, right?
Right.
Because that was the only safe thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you were able to do that, what would have been the impact on Ivy and on your relationship with your family?
Ivy's so young still, right? So she'd probably be upset that I wasn't there. I'd still have to give it up. But maybe I could have seen her or even had the next day with her. Caitlin could have explained, or if I couldn't see her that night, Caitlin would have explained
Yeah.
somehow to her that, not doing this tonight, but Dad will be around tomorrow. I don't.
Right, and she wouldn't have experienced what she did experience,
Right.
Which was probably something that was both confusing, upsetting, and potentially scary. Because we know that kids are actually aware of a lot more of what goes on between their parents. My guess is she was waiting at the door and listening to everything.
Probably. I didn't see her.
Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted you to, so we're going to close this up with you, and I just hear what you're saying, which I find very hopeful,
Mhm.
is even through all of this, you've got a recommitment, don't you, to
Yes.
stay on this road,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
and you guys are going to hold them to it, right?
Okay, so we just watched a video, kind of hard to watch, about a little boy sitting on the stairway and hearing his dad get upset with his mother and then having arguments. What I want to do right now is really take a look at what was going on in that commercial and come up with a kind of brainstorm a list of things that you heard in that would have impacted that little boy sitting on the stairway. So what we're just kind of going to just brainstorm this. So what are some of the things you saw happen or heard happen in that video, really, because it was about hearing, right?
The verbal abuse. The father was.
Is there examples of verbal abuse that you heard?
Just even how he reacted to her ordering pizza rather than making an actual meal, and how hard he works, and just the way he screamed at her.
Screaming at her about what she made. Yeah.
Basically making her feel worthless.
Right, okay. Anything else?
Physical abuse, I heard it's a lot.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Sure. Physical related to stuff going on physically there?
She said, let me go.
Let me go, yeah. Right, so he was grabbing her, holding her, right? Anything else that you heard in that video?
You can hear there was physicality, I'm not sure, in terms of this pushing or.
Right, there's something going on.
So that whole,
Person's,
almost like a panicky situation that they were listening to.
sure. And there's some breaking glass or dishes or something right there, right?
Just crying.
Crying, right? So she was crying. Okay, so what we're trying to do is take a look at the impact that this would have on the little boy in the stairway. So if the little boy, we know from watching the video, heard this, so what do you think might have happened for him? What do you think he might have been thinking about? When you saw him first kind of coming down the stairway with his truck in his hands, what did you think?
oh no, he shouldn't be there.
Oh no, you thought he shouldn't be there? What do you think the little boy was thinking coming down the stairs?
So the little boy,
Yeah.
he would have been scared.
Yeah?
Or daddy's home.
Well, that, you think that's first sort of thing, right? You got daddy's home, right? Okay, and then once, let's see, here's daddy's voice raising. What do you think he might have been feeling or thinking?
Why is dad so mad?
Why is he so mad? Sure. What else?
I think he probably was afraid at that point too. Just-
So when you saw in the one part of it, when he kind of had that startled response, what do you think that was? When he jumped?
Watching his father assault his mom.
And what do you think he felt when he heard that? He kind of jumped. Scared. Yeah. He was startled, scared. Right? Think he was worried at all? Worry on his face?
I think confused.
Sure. What do you think he's confused about?
He came down happy that daddy's home.
Right.
And then suddenly there's a lot of confusion and anger and sounds. And
Right.
it's just,
Didn't feel safe anymore. Right. Yeah. Right. You guys think any of your kids ever experienced that? You think they might have heard fights or arguments or disagreements? Your example last time, right?
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. So I want to just kind of move over one more sort of discussion that I'd like us to have. So we got what happened when Dad got home, what happened with the kid on the stairway. What do you think it's going to be like the next morning for this child? So the kid goes back to bed, maybe doesn't get a good night's sleep, or wakes up in the morning, knows that this has happened, and he has his mom. What do you think it's going to be like for him in the morning?
The confusion would still be there.
Sure. What might it look like?
Might look like, is this going to happen again? What's going to happen with mommy and daddy?
Right. Sure. Yeah. It's happening. Is it going to happen again? What's happened to mom and dad? Right? Because mom and dads are supposed to love each other, and that didn't sound very loving. Whatever was happening there. So for sure, yeah. What else might he be feeling about? Yeah.
Maybe mommy has some kind of mark from.
Right. Maybe.
the deal
Maybe.
with her.
And if he saw that, what would he think?
Ouch.
Ouch. Yeah. Sure. You think mom's going to be 100%? No? Do you think she got much sleep last night? No, probably not.
I don't think she can hide that very well.
Not hide that well. Do you think dad's going to be 100% in the morning? After that? Are you? Whenever you had a fight with your... No. All right. So what's it going to be like in the house for this little boy?
Tense.
It's going to be tense, for sure. Tense. What's tense feel like when you know something happened between two parents?
Very stressful, you know.
It is stressful. Do you think 4-year-olds can feel that stress?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. For sure. Stressful. So what we know is kids are impacted by this kind of behavior, by these kinds of conflicts, by domestic violence. We know that happens. And this kind of stuff. So if this child, little boy on the stairway, say he experiences this maybe every month or so, there's a fight like this between his parents, and it goes on for, say, a couple of years. What do you think it's going to be like for that boy? It starts becoming normal. Absolutely. And so if that becomes normal for you, what do you think, what does your behavior start to look like? So this little boy now, he's 4, now he's going into grade 1, we'll go ahead 2 years, and he's experienced this on a regular basis. What's it going to be like for him in grade 1?
You might show those same characteristics in class.
Yeah.
Beat up another kid.
He might beat up,
Yeah.
acting out,
Acting.
misbehaving.
Yeah.
Yeah. right? We often see that with kids who have experienced this in a variety of ways. They can be also withdrawn, right? Or they can be delayed in their developmental stages, right? So where, a 6-year-old might start bedwetting, or they, might start acting out in class or misbehaving. Or what we know about kids at that age, when we looked at from week 4 the developmental stages, what we also know is that kids don't always understand what's going on, and will take on the responsibility, and will take blame for it, right? Must be about me because, mommy and daddy wouldn't be like this if it wasn't for me. That's what happens for kids. They start taking it on. So if we know that, what does that mean we need to do as parents, as dads, and you guys? We need to protect our kids from this, right? Does that make sense? From the arguments? So what I want to do is go through an exercise here with you, which is called problem solving for parents. This is our second week that we've taken a look at that, and we're going to take one of your specific examples. So can I get an example from someone? Yeah.
So, we have no violence in the house. Like before, we argue about, my wife wants to go to work. She wants to go to school.
Right.
And then find a job.
Right.
But the problem is, I work hard. I make good money. So if I'm not home and I'm working, and she goes to school, then who's going to take care of the children? Who's the rest? So we argue, and
So can we kind of take a look at that?
sure.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to get another piece of paper and stick it up here. If you don't mind. So, the situation is your kid's mother wants to go to school, right? Yeah. That's the situation, right? So your intention by saying, I don't want you to go to school, is what?
Nobody take care of the girls.
And how old are the kids?
One is 10, one is 7.
One is 10 and one is 7. There's no one there to take care of.
My oldest, she has to be 12 years old before she can be home by herself. Or take care of her sister.
So your intention is, you can't go to school. My intention is the kids need a parent at home. And I've decided that's you. That should be at home, right? Okay, so do you get into arguments with her about this?
Yeah, many arguments about this.
Yeah, so what do the arguments tend to sound like?
Almost like the video.
Almost like the video? Yeah. So they get pretty heated.
Screaming, yelling,
Right.
We swear, swearing, use some swear word, maybe Chinese.
Yeah.
So very same.
So,
Very much the same.
and you don't want her going to school. You're pretty clear on that. So your thoughts about her going to school, or what kind of things do you say to yourself when she brings it up again? What do you say to yourself?
What I think before, or what I should think?
No, before. When you get into these
So
arguments.
before, I think she should be at home. She should be cooking. She should wash the house. Keep the house clean. That's a woman's job. That's my wife's job. A woman should be home. Should be doing the housework. But the man is the one who goes to work. Make the money, pay for the bills, do the housework. That's my job. So she wants to go to school, and then so nobody's going to cook, nobody's going to do dishes.
Right. That's what you say to yourself. Okay. So when this comes up, what are you feeling?
Angry.
You feel angry.
I feel confused, frustrated.
Yep. Anyone else have this happen in their relationships where their wife or ex-wife wants to do something that you don't agree with?
Well, my daughter did, and
wanted her to do something you didn't want her to?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was that?
Well, she, at the age of 17, she's my stepdaughter.
Right?
And she made contact with her no good absent father.
Right.
And I told her to cut off the communication right there and then. The guy was a piece of shit. And,
Right.
I raised her as my own. She had no business dealing with them, and she went right against me.
Right. So when she went against you, that caused you a lot of grief, right?
A huge
Huge.
amount of grief, yes.
Okay. Anyone else? So what we want to do is take a look at this. So the other thing I want to kind of take a look at in these scenarios here. So I'm going to come, let me know if I went too far over here. Sorry. When your wife brings up that she wants to go to school, right? Why do you think she does that? What's her intention?
She's lazy.
She's lazy. What do you think she's thinking when she brings up to you, I want to go to school? That's what you think. She's lazy. What do you think is going on for her? What does she say to you?
She wants something different. She wants to change. She wants to help make money.
She wants to help with money. She wants things different. Yeah. What do other people think she might want?
She wants to improve herself.
Prove herself. What else?
Maybe she wants to allow you not to work so hard because she can make a living.
Wouldn't that blow your mind? Maybe she wants to help out. Help out financially. Because he's working so hard, he doesn't get to spend any time with the kids. Well, I wonder if she might think that. You think that's a possibility? Maybe.
I work hard.
Never thought that. So we think the most positive intentions for someone and what they might be doing, right? She wants to improve herself, help out financially, maybe give you a bit of a break around that. What if she just wants to also just be outside the home sometimes?
Have our own independence.
Maybe some independence, right? So do we get nervous when women want independence while still being with us? Does that make us nervous? Does that make you nervous? Maybe a little bit? Yeah? All right. You worry that you might meet someone else? Yeah? Yeah? So who's that about? Who's that nervousness about? Is that about her or is that about our own feelings?
Our own insecurities.
It's our own insecurities because you're not buying this yet, right? So it's if that's our own insecurities, what are they about? What are those insecurities about?
You're not good enough, or you can't satisfy her.
It's good enough, it's satisfying, right? I mean, you're dead, yeah.
You're not doing enough to bring the bucks in. I'll bring some.
You think you might interpret her that way, right?
I'm not saying I will.
No, I'm just saying that could be
it's
one,
a
for sure.
possibility.
Yeah. What about my dad could do it, I should be able to do it too? Does that ring for you at all? My dad did this, I should be able to do it. This is what men do, right?
Yeah, my dad worked very hard, so.
Very hard.
Same
So
thing.
same thing. But you also said you wouldn't have minded having more time with your dad too.
Yeah. I wish we had more time in the
Right.
house and
Right.
if I made more money, then we had more time.
But if you make more money, you're gonna be away from the house more. But if she maybe starts bringing some income in, do you think that could allow you more time to be at home? So you said here, no one will be home to look after the kids. What if that was you? What would that be like? Does that scare you? Right? Because you don't have the relationship with them yet that you think you might want to. But what messages are you giving to your daughters when you argue with and get in the way of their mother going to school?
you know, I want my daughters to see, you know, when my wife, she's home working, wash dishes, cooking, so I like them, you know, one day when they get married, you know, to do as well.
But didn't you also say you wanted your girls to go get an education?
Yeah, I want them to get married, maybe be a doctor. I didn't be the doctor, so hopefully.
So maybe they can be that.
a doctor.
All right, so there's some hope there for you.
Yeah.
So supporting them there.
University.
So how do you square this then? That you don't want their mother to get an education, but you want them to get an education because you want their mother at home to show them how to be at home, yet you also, so this sounds like there's some contradictions happening in this. Is there some confusion around your messages to people in the home?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So do you think, just like showing your children, by showing respect, they learn respect, do you think valuing education, that your daughters will learn to value education too? Is that a possibility? A possible outcome if you don't have your fear? So we could change the outcome of this. We could do something different. What could it be?
Maybe she can do, you know, maybe part-time, you know, small class, not
So-
a full-time class.
Okay, have you talked to her about that?
No.
About compromise? Do you think it's something you could do?
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Maybe you can talk about it. So I'm going to ask you to do that over the next week or so and just talk about possible compromises, right? Because otherwise, everything is on you. You're in control of everything. And the messages you're giving out aren't the ones that are going to be about a positive, healthy environment. It's part of. And if he, just going to throw this out, if you're feeling controlled like this by someone that you're living with, does it make you want to stay in that relationship? Does it make you feel like you're loved in that relationship? What do you think?
Yeah. No.
So what are the messages that we actually want to give? Right? Which is supportive, and I'm behind what it is you want to do, and we can work out with the kids, we can make this make sense, and maybe for you, it's an opportunity to get to know your kids better. So we can think that stuff through. So that's a different outcome than what we had before. Okay? So what we're going to do is take an example, a personal example from someone in the group. Could anyone volunteer to come forward? Yeah.
So the video is similar to fights maybe my wife and I have at home. There's no violence at home, but we argue sometimes about her wanting to go to school.
Okay, so she wants to go to school and you don't want her to?
No.
Okay, so would you mind if we used your example to kind of run through problem-solving exercise? Great, okay, thanks. Okay, so what alternatives, what other reasons might she want to go to work? What are some of the other reasons that she might want to go to work?
Or maybe, just maybe she wants to make some money to help him out so he doesn't have to work so hard.
So that's a real possibility, because he did say he works a lot, right? And he did say your father worked a lot to provide. So is that a possibility? Is that something you'd ever even considered?
Yeah, my father always was working hard, so I'm doing the same thing.
You're doing the same thing, but you also said you wished you'd had some time with your dad as well. And what it sounds like from Jason's suggestion, maybe this is a way for you to spend more time with your daughters, is if you and her work together to bring the income together so you could spend time. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thanks. Welcome back. We're at week 13. We're almost at the end of the program. We've got about 4 weeks to go after this. But we still need to take a hard look at our relationship with our kids and in some cases our kids' mothers. So last week at the end of group, we asked you to do the homework, problem solving for parents, asked you to bring that in this week so we can begin to look at the things that you came up with. Who would like to go first? Okay, so give us a little bit about the situation that you were thinking about through that problem solving exercise.
Well, it's actually situation is what started the whole downfall, which is that my daughter Ann, my
Right.
stepdaughter Ann, through Facebook contacted her biological father.
Okay. Okay. So, you want to give us a little context around that, your relationship to her, and what's, so
Yeah.
how long have you been her stepfather?
Well, Ann was 2 when
Right.
when I met him, and the father was nowhere in the picture. I mean, he never has been.
Right.
And so I raised her as my own, and we've had 4 kids outside of that, Kim, Tommy, Bonnie, and Jamie. But had a special bond with her being the oldest, and things were terrific. I mean, we didn't have anything other than a good father-daughter relationship.
Right.
And then I found out, and Dan was hiding it from me, but I found out that Ann had, through Facebook, found and had been regularly in contact with this missing piece of shit dad.
Right. So what's his name?
His name's Jim.
Jim. Okay. So, your stepdaughter, which I don't think you really think of her as stepdaughter, do you?
No, she's my
So
daughter.
your daughter. Your daughter who has a different biological father has reached out to him now and has a relationship. So how did you react to that?
Well, how do you think? I mean, I told her, knock it off. He's not your dad, I'm your dad. He's had nothing to do with you other than, providing the semen. So, stop talking to him.
So what was your intention by trying to get her to stop talking?
Well, I mean, I was betrayed.
You felt betrayed?
Oh, God, yeah.
So I'm going to put that here, just so we capture that. But I want to know when you told her to stop, what were you trying
The
to...
intention was to get her to stop, to get him out of her life. He had no business being there in the first place.
Get Jim out. That's what you wanted. You didn't want her to have that relationship.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when we think about needs, I mean, we've talked about whether our behaviors towards our kids are parent-centered or child-centered, with parent-centered being about meeting our needs as parents and child-centered being about meeting the needs of our kids. You're wanting to get Jim out. Is that parent-centered? Is that about you, or is that about her?
Well, I think I'm protecting her
Right.
from this guy. I mean, the guy's already proven that he is untrustworthy, is not responsible. He's an infection she doesn't need in her life. So,
Okay, so
in
what
my
you-
mind, I think I'm looking out for her best interests.
Come on back here and ask, is that your needs or her needs?
It's my needs.
It's her needs. So it's kind of down here, right? What do other people think? We can justify all kinds of things, right? But when we look at whose needs are being expressed here, whose needs are being met, is it, would you agree that it's his or hers?
That's absolutely it.
It's absolutely his. Absolutely his. Right? And that's because she's expressed what her needs are, is to have a relationship with her biological father. Right? She said that by her behavior. You said, forget it, that threatens me. We have a relationship, so I want him out. So that's about you, right? So we're going to kind of walk through this, right? So let's take a look at when you found out she had made that contact and you said to her, get him out. What were you feeling?
Well, like I said, I felt betrayed. I felt angry. I think I still do.
Right? Sure.
I felt stabbed in the back with more betrayal. I mean, it's hard for me to get beyond those points there because I raised her as my own. I loved her as my own. She loved me. And all of a sudden, now she's spending time with him. And of course, all the time that she spends with him is good time, sharing, you know, the good stories and, you know, this sort of thing. And here I'm the ogre now. So, so my feelings, I'm confused.
Sure.
You know, I'm totally confused by the whole thing.
So your thoughts are, I raised her as my own. I put a lot of time into this relationship. I'm the only father that she's known. Those are the things that we're saying.
He's no good.
He's no good.
And it's created the same sort of wedge with my wife because, of course, she supports her, which means she doesn't support me, which leads to even more anger because now I feel like they're both against me.
So you feel it's become between you and your wife. So these are all the sort of thoughts that you're having. You've got some feelings around it. And so your behavior is what? So one is get them out, but now as it continues to go on, how do you act towards your daughter?
Well, she's now living with my mother-in-law.
Right. So she's moved
Because
out.
I told her either get him out of your life or get out yourself. And that's kind of where that went.
Wow.
Yeah,
That was a big hill to die on, wasn't it?
it seems so.
It seems so, right?
But at the time, in my mind, that was, you know, it was black and white.
Right.
You either loved him or you loved me.
Right. People think about that. Do you think it's possible for her to fully love him as the man and father who raised her and have feelings towards the biological father? Do you think that's a possibility? How so?
Well, I mean, she knows who he is. She knows your dad. But she also, actually, I think about her too. If I didn't know my biological parent, I'd probably want to meet them as well. You know, I'd want to get to know that person on some level. And that's obviously what she wanted to do. And I think it's okay for her to have those normal feelings for that other person. But there's no way she forgets who you are.
What is, can I,
Yeah.
is it Ann?
Yeah.
What does Ann call you?
Also, yeah.
And what does she call the other guy?
Jim.
So what's your problem?
No, I see your point. Yeah.
So I'm wondering about how he talks about Jim, if that kind of resonates for you around Tracy and your other daughter that you don't see. I'm wondering if this could end up at some point being, if you could end up being Jim at some point, where she actually reaches out to you as a biological dad and, and disrupts Tracy's family in the same kind of way. I'm wondering how you would feel about that.
Oh. It's interesting because the fight that I had with Randy happened because I'm not sure between the line. So yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I know what you're feeling, but it's a tough one.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there are hard things that happen. And we've got a child who's 17 who has, for one reason or other that is hers, reached out to the person who was her biological father. And for maybe reasons like you said, I'm curious. I want to know who he is. He's not been around. I know who he is. I got my dad, and then I got Jim. And Jim's this guy who was in and out of my life in a flash, and I don't know who he is. Maybe I want to know. So if we started saying that kind of stuff that's been said to you here, how might that change the outcome? Because right now she's moved out of the house. She's not living with you.
Yeah, neither's gonna like him.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. This started downhill spiral. It's just pretty much costing everything.
So it's yours to fix.
Yeah, which is why I'm here voluntarily.
Yeah.
I want to, I've cleaned up my drinking. for the most part. I know I gotta change things, but
So let's help him out here. What are some alternatives that he could do, say to himself, to make this different? What do you think? It's a big loss you've gone through. Yeah.
Maybe, the gym, maybe has something good about him. Maybe it's a little bit, something small, gym is good at.
yeah.
Maybe your daughter can have two fathers, something to learn from both people.
I didn't think that. Yeah.
Sometimes
Maybe.
it's nice to have more than
Yeah.
one parent, two or three.
Well, it could be, especially if one's a biological parent. It's like, I don't know who this is. That's a really good point. Anyone else? What do you think?
I don't think Jim's ever going to be your parent, so I really don't think you have to worry about that. I mean, Jim's a Facebook friend now. You're her dad, she calls you her dad, so she's a 17-year-old daughter. I mean, what were you like when you were 17? Just out exploring, you want to piss your parents off? But she's still your daughter, you're still her dad, she calls you that. So just be her dad. Jim is Jim.
So what does he need to do differently then? If she's going to continue, right? So I'm guessing right now you got some pride on the line now.
Yeah, I've spent all my pride.
You spent all your pride, right?
Suck it up.
Because that's about pride, right? Yeah.
Maybe change your thinking like, I am the father. I am the father. And you want to say, I am the father.
I am her father,
I am.
right? You're her father. So if you started changing that in your head, what alternatives could happen? What is it that you could do that would be different to move this in a different place?
Well, apparently I've got to get rid of the black and white of it all. I guess there's no harm in letting her explore, who she is, where she came from and stuff.
So what if I think about it this way? What if I say to myself, better she do it with her parents' support than when she turns 21 and she's on her own and she's reaching out. Better this happens with a supportive family around her as she gets to know. What if you said that to yourself?
Actually, now that you say it, it makes a whole lot of sense. I don't think I ever stopped to even consider that.
Because you were stuck in this sort of,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is all about me, this is about my pride, this is about...
And there again, I didn't think it was all about me. I thought it was all about her and him, and that I have to do something about it. I didn't allow myself to think even further that there might be a C plan,
Yeah,
a D plan.
a D plan, all kinds of plans. It is about her and him. She's the one who wanted to find out about him. You made it all about you. And then all of this stuff fell out as a result of that. So
Yeah.
what we need to do is figure out, so when we get to week 15, we're going to have a chance to really take a look at how you might repair some of this. If you're willing to kind of stick with us.
Oh, I'm willing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I gotta get them back. I gotta get them all back.
Right. So I need you to be kind of thinking about this and maybe make some peace with, make some peace with yourself, make some peace with the fact that there is this other man who was her biological father, had nothing to do with raising her, but she wants to know him, and make some peace with that. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So, can you give us some of the context for the situation with your daughter?
Yeah, my stepdaughter Anne recently got a hold of her biological father over Facebook. Made contact with him, and she's been talking to him regularly. And my wife knew about it. She's known about it for weeks. She didn't say anything to me.
Right. So, what was your reaction to that?
Well, it's totally pissed. I mean, I told her to knock off. Like, this guy hasn't been in her life at all. I mean, Anne was 2 when I met Pam, and I've raised her as my own
Right.
for all these years. And all of a sudden, she gets a hold of this piece of shit that walked out on her when she was just born, and Now she wants to start a relationship up with him.
And so what did you do about that?
Well, I told her, you know, that he's got to go. She's got to knock this relationship off.
Sure. Okay. And how were you feeling about that?
Well, I felt betrayed.
Right?
I
Yep.
mean, not just by her, but by her mother, who kept it hidden from me. And, I mean, angry. Really angry. And to tell you the truth, confused. I really didn't know what to think.
And so how did this impact your daughter?
Well, basically told her to knock it off or get out. And she got out. She
got
lives
out.
with the mother-in-law now.
Sure. Okay. So what we want to do is think about alternatives, different ways of thinking about it. So we've been talking about that over the past few weeks about how do we change our thoughts about situations. So what are some of the things that he might say differently to himself?
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Sure.
It's Anne, right?
Yeah,
What did she call you?
Dad.
And what did she call the other guy?
Jim.
So what the hell's your problem?
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. I don't know. I think that he doesn't belong in her life. He's no good, and no good can come out of this, as far as I'm concerned. That's where I'm coming from.
So maybe you know you're talking about changing how he's thinking. So maybe just think, you know, I am her dad. I am her dad. I am my father. Right? Just keep on thinking that. Maybe that can help, you know, change your feelings and then change your actions. But the father, his name is Jim.
Yeah.
Is there maybe he has something good to offer? Maybe like anything good about Jim?
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Because what I'm thinking is if Jim has some good, maybe your daughter can learn some good from him too, right? So in a way, you know, it's nice to have two people, right? Two people she can learn from. Almost like two fathers. You're the father,
Yeah.
but you know, more like a very close friend or family member. So maybe that's a different way of thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So what if we think about it this way, and you think about, is it better for her to explore this relationship with Jim in a supportive home family, or wait until she's on her own when she's in her 20s?
Oh, you know, it's a good point. I never really allowed myself to think of it that way. You know, to me it was one way or the other.
Right.
But I never even thought of a plan C, plan D.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that would work.
Okay.
We'll try.
So this week, we're going to take on the topics of shame and guilt. And so I just want to start by talking about shame and guilt and how those feelings are actually a little bit different. So when you think about those terms, what comes to mind when you think about shame and when you think about guilt? Any thoughts?
You feel bad about something you did wrong, maybe? That's guilty. That makes you guilty.
Right, okay, so feeling bad about something that you've done wrong is guilt. Okay, so if that's guilt, what's shame?
You're embarrassed about it as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're also embarrassed about it. Okay, what else do you feel when you feel shame? It's even hard to talk about shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe what we can do is just take a moment and think about, just in your head, take a moment and get in touch about thinking about something that you feel ashamed of, that you feel shameful about. Is this something that you've told somebody?
Yeah. Sometimes you're talking to someone about someone else, and it's not a good story, and afterwards you just say, like, the guilt part, I shouldn't have said that, but then
Yeah.
you just feel a real gut feeling that, oh, wow, I really shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have thought it.
You really shouldn't have said it, shouldn't have thought it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So a real gut feeling. Would you guys say that when you're talking about shame, it feels like a real gut feeling more so than guilt?
Yeah.
Maybe shame is more personal than guilt.
Yeah. So we often think about, and I think you're starting to capture some of this those differences and the difference in feeling, that we often think about guilt as feeling bad about something. Feeling bad about something that I've done. I wish I hadn't done that. And shame as having another element, which is kind of feeling bad about you. So shame is more, I'm feeling bad, as opposed to guilt, I'm feeling bad about something. And I'm going to put shame and guilt here on the continuum because I'm going to put shame down here at the parent-centered end of the continuum. I'm going to put guilt down here at the child-centered end of the continuum. And I'm going to do that because what do we do when we feel guilty? In the best case scenario, what do we do?
Apologize.
Apologize. Try to make it better, right? You feel guilty about something, you try to make amends. What do we do when we feel shame?
I think with shame, it's more internalized. It's not about the apology. It's about trying to come to terms with what happened.
Yeah. Shameful things are often also something that's kept secret, right? So if you feel shame about something, that often is something that you keep kind of deep inside and you don't tell anybody. Anybody had any experiences where, I don't want anybody to know that?
I think everyone does at some point.
Yeah.
Right?
It's pretty safe to say, yeah.
So I'm going to make this really concrete because we were talking with you, Frank, a few weeks ago about the time when you had a couple drinks.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad to hear in the last couple weeks you've actually been able to come back onto your road and to keep on the straight and narrow. That's really great. And so I'm glad that you've been holding with that. But when you were there, we talked a little bit about this discussion, even though we weren't using those words, and about whether or not it was easier to kind of fall into this shame, which was, well, I didn't really do it, it's not so bad. You really felt shame about that, but you kind of wanted to make light of it,
Yeah.
right?
It was easier to go the shame route than the guilt route.
Yeah, and we identified that the one that would be better for your child was
The guilt route.
the guilt route, right? Okay, so we're going to play on this a little bit more and talk a little bit more about shame and guilt this week, and particularly around how shame can get us into really parent-centered and abusive behaviors towards our kids. Over the last number of weeks, most of you have shared with the group why it is that you were here. And for many of you, being referred here, or the incident or the abuse that led to you being referred here, is something that you feel some level of shame about. Right? Does that sound about right? All right. Yeah. And so it's been good to be able to process that. And so we talked before group, and I asked if you would also share with the group your reason for being here, because that's something that we haven't done yet. And I wondered if today we could talk about your example, and then we'll talk a little bit more about everybody's experience of shame and how that kind of fits on this continuum. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, I appreciate that. So could you share with the group, how did you get referred here?
Well, I've got 5 children. There's Anna, she's 17, and Kim. She's 14. Johnny's 12. Bonnie's 8, and Jeremy's 4. The difference being that Anne is not my daughter; she's my stepdaughter, and I've known her. You know, she came into my life when she was 2 years old, and I've raised her because there was an absent father. Well, now that she's hit 17, on Facebook, she found and has been communicating with her biological father. And I took great offense to that, so I confronted her with it and told her that she had to stop communicating with him. It had to stop everything to do with him. Like right now, he had no part in our lives. And she fought right back. She said that it was her right to have that relationship. It had nothing to do with me. It was none of my business. Well, that just set me right off. So it got more heated to the point where I just said, all right, you cut it off or get the hell out. I didn't think she would, but she did. She got out. She left the house, and that led to problems with Beth, my wife, because she was on Anne's side, of course. And then it just became a downward spiral from there. Every time I talked to Beth about anything, didn't even have to do with Anne, anything, it became heated, argumentative, and you know, it's like the next morning you hope that it would go away, but then it just started up again and again, to the point where I started living in the trailer on the farm.
Yeah.
And long story short, Beth packed up the kids and they now live with their sister.
Okay, so thank you very much for sharing your story, and it's okay with you. We're going to use that for the problem-solving exercise.
Sure.
And really take a dive into what you were thinking, feeling at that time. Because, again, this is an example where these actions are abusive actions, right? So giving his daughter an ultimatum, you know, you see your stepfather or out. Do we all agree that that's an abusive action? There's not quite so clear. So that's fine. Let's explore this a little bit more. Let's try to get to that point where you're in this argument with your daughter, and it's a really heated argument. You get to the point where you've been yelling.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yelling at her. What were you saying?
We were
to her?
yelling at each other, actually. It just escalated on both parts. But I was telling her that, this person was toxic. They were no good. They didn't want to have anything to do with her before. I
Yeah.
didn't see any reason why he should be in the picture now.
Right. So you were insulting her dad, her biological dad. Toxic. He shouldn't be in the picture.
Yes.
Were you saying other things to her?
Well, yeah, I mean, I probably was. It was a heated argument. I'm sure I said a lot of things that I shouldn't have or regret saying now, but no, as far as her father goes,
Yeah.
I was pretty hard on him.
Okay. So maybe we'll come back to what you were saying about her too in
Sure.
a minute. Okay. So what I want to do is start breaking out some of the thoughts and feelings that you were having in that moment. So maybe we'll start. I want to start with the thoughts here. So here you are, you're in this argument with your daughter. You're upset that she's having contact with her biological father, who she hasn't seen, as far as you know, for her whole life, except for when she was really little. What kinds of thoughts were going through your head?
Well, I thought, why is she even paying this guy the time of day?
Okay, so why is she in touch? What else?
What is she looking for that I haven't provided her?
What is she looking for that I can't provide? Right? What else? If we go down a little bit farther.
I don't know. you know, have I erred some way? Why is she doing this now?
Sounds like it was personal for you.
Oh, totally personal. I felt totally betrayed, but that's a feeling. That's not a thought.
Yeah, well, very
But-
good. You're good at getting those apart.
Yeah.
So betrayed.
Absolutely.
You felt betrayed. Okay, let's go from it this way. Why did you feel betrayed?
Well, because after all I'd done for her, now she wants to go and make a relationship with this guy.
Okay, so other guys in the room, this feeling, after all I've done, why would you do that? What feeling goes along with that?
Anger.
Sure, anger. What else?
Hurt.
Hurt. Feel hurt?
Oh, totally.
Hurt. Okay, what else?
Well, you know, confused. So many unanswered questions. Why? Why overall? Why now? What is she doing? Why is she doing it? Just
Why do you
searching for an
think?
answer.
Why do you think? Did you have any thoughts that went through your head around why? Because that's what you're asking. Why would she do this? And I'm wondering, when your worst case scenario, why is she doing this?
Well, and that is the big question that I'm trying to wrap my head around. Why? I thought that I was, you know, I provided her with a good home. I took her in as one of my own. We have a terrific family. She's got brothers and sisters. And we got a dog. What else does she need? So why is she doing this?
What else does she need? You know, why haven't I? It sounds almost like why am I not good enough
Yeah.
with all of what I'm doing? Is that right?
Yeah. Right on the head. Yes.
When you feel that, when you think, why am I not good enough? What kind of feeling does that go to? Is there any shame there?
Oh, well, yes, of course, there's shame. There's doubt. There's so many, you know, foreign feelings.
Okay. And I just want to, you know, you also have kids who are biological and potentially non-biological, and I know we've talked a little bit about this in the group. And I know that your oldest she's not your biological child. Do you think that plays into this at all? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't.
Well, I mean, all my life, you know, I've always thought of her as my own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm so troubled by this. Is you know, I don't have this concern with the other kids.
Yeah.
They're my kids. And you know, I believed in my heart of hearts before this that I treated her equally and the same.
Well, it just feels to me like you've got, I guess, this level of, of doubt or shame that she's doing this, and that somehow that's an indication that I'm not good enough as a dad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Was
Absolutely.
that part of the emotion that came up here?
Yeah.
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 This is an indication that, you know what, I'm not good enough. And that you feel a bit ashamed about that thought.
Yes. You know, I've never really sat down to analyze myself that way, but now that you say it, yeah, I do. I feel ashamed.
Yeah. Okay, just before we move on from this, I just want, so then when we're in this place, when you were in that place of feeling like what you're doing here is an indication that I'm not good enough and feeling some level of shame about that, Were there any actions that you took that you really wish you could take back? Anything that you did or said that really, cut to the quick of your daughter?
Well, yes, I mean, just giving her the ultimatum.
Yeah.
And I did it thinking I knew what the end result would be, and it wasn't what I thought it would be.
You thought she'd choose you.
I really did. I just got blindsided by her choice. And like I said, it was heated. At one point, I went into her bedroom closet, took her suitcase out, and said, well, then, there's the door. That was an action that I did that I wish I could take back.
I want you to imagine yourself as that 17-year-old being given an ultimatum and a suitcase. What does that say to you?
That's what she's saying to you at that moment in time in her head.
Well, it could be what she's saying to you, but when if somebody said to me, get out, and here's your suitcase, and I'll start packing your clothes for you.
I'm leaving.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty powerful statement. And I said earlier, I'm surprised, you were surprised she chose to leave. I'm not sure she had much of a choice there, right?
No,
A
probably
17-year-old body, dad saying, here you go, here's your suitcase. Heated argument. I think pretty much every 17-year-old would be out the door there.
not. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about this now?
I feel horrible. There's so much of this. I wish I could just erase, just say start over.
Start again.
Because I made some bad choices. But I can't.
So just stay with me for another couple secs, because I think this is really important to be here. And is it here because you're thinking about your daughter walking out and how you got to there? Is that why you're here?
It is.
It is? I
It
guess
it cost me the rest of the family too, eventually, so yeah. That's why I'm here.
And so right now, are you feeling the shame of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
And when she left, what did you do? Like as she's walking out of the door.
Actually, I doubled down. I went and argued with my wife about it.
Yeah.
Of course, my wife was backing her all the way, and that was just more betrayal and more anger and more hurt.
Yeah. So you've caused a lot of harm to your family.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I appreciate you taking the time to share this, and for you in the group, for other men to be able to hold this. Because this is the kind of thing that we're talking about around being able to take some responsibility. We haven't heard this before. We've heard bits of this story. We haven't heard this level of responsibility for this story. I want to go one more place for this before we start, and that is, I wonder if we made the same triangle for your daughter. What do you think she was thinking in this interaction? Maybe let some of the other guys in the room.
Yeah, please.
What was she thinking?
Yeah.
Maybe she's just thinking, I want to see my dad, my real dad, my biological father, not my dad.
Yeah, I know.
You're her dad, right?
Yeah.
Well, and why might she want to see her biological father?
Maybe just curious.
Might be curious. Yeah. And now she's in this heated argument, right? Now she's in this place where her dad is, you're not going to have any contact with her. What's she thinking now?
Screw you, I'm going to do what literally, it's, I'm going to do what I want to do. I mean, I'm an adult. I mean, you can't tell me what to do.
So she probably has a bit of that going on. What else?
She's probably disappointed in her father.
Disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he would react this way.
Why?
Because, I mean, no offense.
No,
But she knows
no.
your dad. Your dad. But she wants to know who her biological father is, and she's probably more torn up that you want to suppress that.
You're not supporting her.
You're not supporting her.
No, yeah, I wasn't supporting her.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And maybe because you kick her out, you know, she might feel betrayed too. You know, like you're her dad, but you turn your back on her by kicking her out of the house.
It's a pretty confusing thing for a kid to then try to wrestle with the fact that they have a biological father and maybe want to figure out who that person is. And so it's kind of confusing, and you might want a little bit of kind of support around that. But what she got is kicked out, right? What does it feel like when you get kicked out? Horrible.
Hey, she's probably thinking, how is he worse than you after what you're doing to her?
So you said she was 2 when.
Yeah.
So she's had 15 years that you just threw away in her mind of childhood?
No, I didn't think I was throwing it away, but yeah.
Tell the story about why you're here.
Well, I got 5 kids. There's Anna, she's 17, Kim, 14, Johnny, 12, Bonnie, 8, and Janie's 4. And Anna's not my, real daughter. She's my stepdaughter. It recently came to light that she had found her biological father on Facebook, and they had started up a conversation, a relationship, and I confronted her about it. And the discussion quickly turned into an argument, and then it turned into a heated argument, and the end result was that I told her that, she had to make a choice. It was him or me. She chose him. And so I went pretty ballistic about that, and she left. She left the house and moved in with my mother-in-law, and that started me arguing with my wife Pam on a regular basis. And it wasn't just a one-off argument. It was an argument that started up again and again and again, and to add fuel to the fire, I started drinking to cope with all that. And that just snowballed effect to the point where I started staying in the trailer on the farm and drinking myself into submission. And one day I went into the house and found a note from my wife saying that she'd taken the kids to go live with her sister. So that's why I'm here.
Pretty tough. And one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about this today is I want to talk about that interaction that you had with your daughter, about when you and her were in an argument, and about what it was like for you and what your thoughts and feelings were about that.
Well, I was thinking, why? Like, why do you want to get in contact with this man who hasn't been part of your life? I've raised you. What are you looking for? Like,
What were some of your feelings?
I was hurt. Really, really hurt. I was betrayed. You know, I raised her as my own, and this is the thanks I got for it.
So let's go back and talk a little bit more about that interaction and how it went. So take me through. So you find out that she's been talking with her biological father. What did you do?
Well, I gave her an ultimatum. You know, you stay and have nothing to do with him, or you get out.
So you just kind of started the conversation that way?
No. I told her that I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And she didn't deny it.
Yeah.
And I asked her why she felt the need to do this, and she just basically told me it was none of my business. It was between her and her father, which just fueled me even more.
Yeah.
And it just escalated pretty quick from there. And when I did give her the ultimatum, I didn't get the result I was looking for. I couldn't see that one coming. It blindsided me.
Yeah.
She decided that she wanted to hold on to this relationship more than she wanted to stay with me. So.
Yeah. So.
You're surprised that she left when you told her to get out?
Yeah, I guess. But, and then I added fuel to the fire. I actually went into her bedroom, went into her closet. So I got her suitcase out, put it on the bed, and said, "There you go. There's the door."
So what do you guys think of this? This is a pretty hard story to hear. What do you guys think of this?
Like from the daughter's perspective, probably like, screw you.
Pretty much.
So she was 2 when you brought her in?
Yeah.
And she's 17 now? So 15 years just gone?
Yeah.
Well, and let's be clear. 15 years gone because of whose choice,
Because of his.
right? Because you set up a situation where it was almost impossible for her to stay, right?
Yeah. I guess so.
Maybe it's like her father walked out on her before. Now, in a way, you're turning your back on her now. It's almost the same thing.